Yo, what's good, kings and queens? It's your boy Don, and I'm back for another reaction video today. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and hit all so you know every time I post. If you're not new to the channel, you heard, please go down below, hit that like button. Please put your social medias. You already know the vibe. You already know how we doing that you are. Other than that, we're going to be reacting to what was found inside Hitler's last will. Yo, this video keep popping up on my what is that thing called? My timeline. We learned obviously about Hitler in like elementary, high school, middle school, all that, whatever. I haven't heard about that man since. So I'm just like, let's see what this man got to talk about. Let's see what was in his will. I really have no comments about what Hitler was or who he was. If you got any comments, let me know down below in the comments. Other than that, let's get right into the video. Let's see what they talking about, you are.
But who got Hitler's money after his death? What else was
Wait,
it?
what?
Hitler was an incredibly rich man when he wrote his last will and testament in the bunker where he would take his life. He had amassed a fortune from the sales
My boy
of
took his own life.
business deals, and private investments. But who got Hitler's money after his death? What else was in his will? And could there be a massive fortune hidden away somewhere waiting to be found? As Nazi Germany fell during the end of World War II, Hitler committed suicide and transferred his power to other members of the Nazi regime. But before he did this, he wrote a will. There were 3 copies of the will distributed, and all that might have been lost to time if it not had been for a British intelligence officer named Herman Rothman. He was deployed to Germany to interrogate high-level Nazi officials for information. While on assignment, he spotted a suspicious man dressed in civilian clothing. Rothman decided something didn't seem right, and that the man warranted further investigation. He discovered the German man was carrying falsified documents. It turned out the imposter was Heinz Lorenz. Lorenz was the press secretary for Joseph Goebbels, the man who was made chancellor of Nazi Germany by Hitler just before he committed suicide. Sewn into one of the seams of Lorenz's jacket were 3 documents. They were a final political statement written by Hitler himself, a document written by Goebbels, and Hitler's will. As you might expect, the political statement was wildly racist against the Jewish people.
There we go.
For his own shortcomings and for causing Nazi Germany to lose the war, thus reinforcing what a lunatic Hitler was. But what was in his will?
Right, tell me what's in the will.
The first thing Hitler talks about in his will is his new wife, Eva Braun. Up until right before their double suicide, Eva and Adolf were not yet married. Eva was the aide to Hitler's official photographer. They first met during a photo shoot at the Fuhrer. Hitler and Braun developed a relationship, and when opportunities presented themselves, spent time alone together. Hitler explained in his will that he was too busy to marry, and that was why they did it right before their deaths. Some scholars have their own theories about why Hitler waited so long to marry Braun, but according to Hitler's will, at the end of April 1945, the two were joined in matrimony. Hitler goes on to declare that Eva Braun made the decision under her own free will to commit suicide with him. Whether this is true or not, we'll never know, but in his will, Hitler claims this to be the case. In the next part of his will, Hitler discusses what will happen to his belongings and money. He states that everything he possesses and has any value should be given to the Nazi Party. However, Hitler writes it in a way that seems as if he doesn't own much of anything. This is far from the truth, as he had amassed a fortune from the sales of Mein Kampf, as well as through royalties on images of himself and business deals. Hitler continues by saying that if the Nazi Party
in the mission you heard, please go down below, hit that like button, that subscribe button, that notification bell, and hit all so you know every time I post. This also helps us get out of in the mission. It's all free. I appreciate y'all for popping out. If I'm blurry, let me know. I feel like I'm blurry, but I might be bugging. Who knows? Other than that, like I said, hit that like button. It's free. Yo, let me know what y'all think of the video so far. Like, I don't think they gotten to the point that I'm looking for, but if y'all finding out a lot of information that is very important and y'all feel like it makes sense to y'all, let me know. Yo, my camera is leaning, yo. If y'all look above my head, look at the open sign. It's not even straight. That's how you know my camera is not even sitting straight. I'm going to fix it after this video, but y'all wasn't going to tell me nothing, you are? It's crazy, man. Let's get into the video, son.
Down there or going to does not survive, that his belongings should be given to the state. And if the state does not survive, then all is lost and his wishes are no longer necessary. Hitler does not make specific arrangements for his paintings and pictures, which he had collected over the years. They were to be given to Linz, Austria, the town in which he grew up. There he also wanted the art to be displayed in a gallery for the public, and not as a private collection. It's in the next part of the will that Hitler mentions his money, yet he still does not acknowledge the massive sum he's accumulated over the course of his rise gives Martin Bormann, his private secretary and Nazi official, full legal authority to make decisions based on his will. Hitler states that everything of sentimental value and the funds necessary for a modest life should be given to his brothers and sisters. However, it would seem his own family was not quite as important as someone else. Hitler goes on to say that, above all, Eva Braun's mother should be taken care of. He was more intentional in including her directly in his will than his own family. This seems odd, but then again, Hitler was an odd man. He also put in his will that of all his faithful co-workers, particularly his secretary Frau Winter, should be looked after as well. There is no specific number or amount of money each should receive, which means it was up to the discretion of Bormann. However, we know that Hitler's fortune was massive, so if his last will and testament was followed, there was a hefty sum of money that could have been distributed among the parties described in the will. Hitler concludes his will by saying that he and his now wife, Eva Braun, would rather escape disgrace by choosing death over being captured. He also included that once he took Eva's life and then his own, their bodies were to be immediately burned. He signed the will given in Berlin, 29th of April 1945, 4 a.m., A. Hitler. Below his name, the three witnesses of the will are signed as well. They were Dr. Joseph Goebbels, Martin Bormann, and Colonel Nicholas von Bellow. It was not a very long will and did not contain many specifics, but it did give us a glimpse into what would happen to Hitler's belongings once he took his own life. However, this begs the question, what really happened to all of Hitler's possessions and money? The surprising thing is, we aren't entirely sure. We know for a fact that Mein Kampf made Hitler very rich. By the time of his death in 1945, the book had sold about 8 million copies and had been translated into 16 languages. It was estimated that Hitler earned around $1 million per year in royalties. Some of this money was used to buy his Alpine retreat, named the Berghof, which was located near the town of Berchtesgaden in Germany. This was not a cheap estate, so Hitler must have spent a significant amount of money on it. He also felt he had enough money that once he became Führer, he forewent the salary associated with the position. In Mein Kampf and other writings, Hitler talked about his earlier life in poverty and hardship. He was a struggling artist in Vienna before fighting in World War I and the publication of his influential book. He talked about how he overcame all odds to succeed and made enough money to live comfortably. Once he had money, it was reported that he spent millions on gifts and payments to buy the loyalty of politicians and businessmen. The payments would allow him to be able to call in favors and make others dependent on him. Obviously, this would not have been possible without a massive sum of money. Once he became Führer, Hitler no longer thought of there being a divide between his personal money and that of the Nazi Party. He would use funds from both his own wealth and the state to buy property, art, and make business deals. It's also well established that before becoming the Führer, Hitler was a tax evader. He was in debt through back taxes until he rose to power. And once in power, the money continued to flow into his pockets. Big businesses would make huge contributions to his efforts, so they could secure military and infrastructure contracts. It's estimated that from the time he started as chancellor until his suicide in 1945, Hitler received over $3 billion in corporate payments. Damn. So what happened to all of Hitler's money? Is it still out there in the world waiting to be discovered? In his will, Hitler says he wanted all his property and wealth to go to the Nazi Party. However, we know that the Nazis were defeated, and therefore, the will defaults to the next beneficiary, which was the state. In a way, the state did get much of Hitler's wealth. At the end of the war, the Allies gave the copyrights of Mein Kampf to the Bavarian government. There was still a lot of potential money that could have been brought in by owning the copyrights to the book. However, the government banned any reprinting of the work in Germany, and therefore those funds stopped coming in. Both Hitler's Berghof estate in the Alps and his apartment in Munich were also given to Bavaria. So it would seem that a lot of Hitler's assets did actually go to the state like he wanted in his will. However, most of this was in the form of physical and intellectual property. What happened to the expensive art collections and actual money? There are accounts of Hitler's house in the Alps being bombed by Allied forces and then looted by the soldiers. It's possible that much of the artwork that Hitler had collected was stolen during this time. We also don't know exactly what was in Hitler's house when it was raided. We know the Nazis liked to create secret passages and bunkers. If there were such secrets within Berghof, perhaps the soldiers who found them were able to get away with the money and other valuables. In 1952, what remained of Hitler's Berghof house was blown up by the Bavarian government to keep it from attracting tourists and people who might have still shared Hitler's ideologies. With the destruction of the house, anything that might have been hidden within would have been lost. Hitler's apartment in Munich is still there, but it's been converted to a police station instead of a residence. So it would seem that the Bavarian government did in fact receive some of Hitler's possessions as per his will. However, when trying to follow the actual money and where it went, things become a bit unclear. Since his fortune was so intertwined with the money of the Nazi Party, it's possible that much of his wealth was spent on a war effort at the end of World War II. That being said, it is possible that some of the money and valuables that once belonged to Hitler were smuggled out of Nazi Germany by deserters and officers trying to escape Allied forces. Yes, it's possible. However, we may never know how much of Hitler's fortune was disseminated this way. Hitler knew he would lose World War II, and rather than being tried for his crimes, decided to take his own life and that of his brand new bride. Just before he committed suicide, Hitler did write a will, and in it he laid out what to do with his possessions. But he was somewhat vague about the extent of his actual wealth in the document. It would seem that most of what Hitler owned went to the Bavarian state. However, his fortune is not completely accounted for. Perhaps some of Hitler's money and valuables are still out there waiting to be discovered.
Yeah,
Or perhaps everything he had and owned was lost or plundered during the war that he started. Now watch, how rich was Hitler? Where did all his money come from?
If y'all enjoyed this video you heard, please let me know down in the comments if I should react to any of these other Hitler videos you heard. If y'all want me to react to anything else other than this, please also let me know down in the comments. I got y'all. Follow my social media. Everything is up there. I just shot another video. About to go shoot another one right now. So I'm going to see y'all there. You are. Peace. Love. Dawn.